Welcome everyone to Purpose Sages. I am delighted to have Dr. Lisa Longworth with us today. We'll
Mm.
speak about her beautiful method. And yeah, I can't wait to hear more. Lisa, welcome. How are you today?
Oh, thank you. I'm so well, and I'm so excited to be here. So thank you for the invitation, Anna Marie.
My pleasure. Um, so the question I always start with is how did you find or discover your own purpose?
Mm. Well, sometimes something happens to us that is so big, we don't know quite what to do with it, and then over time, the deeper purpose reveals itself. And for me, it was a near death experience after life threatening brain surgery when something opened up that was so huge. It was so much larger than myself. And I've been on a mission ever since, and that was over 40 years ago, to continue to be in that what I would just call the shine of the larger life. And I had a very hard time initially when I experienced that profound connection to everything. And I've spent a lifetime ever since expressing it and also being on a mission to help others also fully express their purpose and their passion and live a lighter life. So these paintings behind me are expressions of that purpose of connection and inspiration. So that would be, for me, it's still driving. It drives me every morning to get up a couple hours before the sun and meditate and listen and be present and open. So for me, that purpose is connected to alignment and personal practice. And it's connected to also continually letting go, continually recognizing when the lenses of my perception are clouded by something very like almost like being in a cocoon. My life's work is called Cocoon to Butterfly, and it's about the creative metamorphosis that we go through in consciousness to be fully alive and fully expressive as human beings.
Beautiful. Yeah, I loved your metaphor when I came across it and in your book,
Mm.
this creative metamorphosis. And yet I bet it wasn't easy for you when you were going through that surgery and
Yeah.
all the challenges that came with it. So maybe as you explain how that was for you, you can share that process, cocoon to butterfly, how that typically works for people so that they can encounter that deeper purpose.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question because it was tough. I think before I went through the surgery, everyone in my life that loved me, they knew that the chances of my survival were really slim. I had a 50-50 chance of being able to survive the surgery. And if I did survive the surgery, there was a high probability that I would be in a quadriplegic, that I'd be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. So I really had to face my death. And then with that, I also simultaneously, I accepted that. I accepted, you know what? It's okay if I die from the surgery. And part of how I was able to accept that is that all the people that I loved the most in my world, my parents, my best friends, my boyfriend, they all came in the hospital room right before I went into surgery. And I could feel this incredible love that was present. And somehow that gave me the courage to let go of the fear of death. It's like somehow instinctively something in my higher heart knew, Lisa, this is what you came for, to experience this. And it's okay if you die. So that was incredible. And I think that also allowed me to open up to a larger life that I experienced in the near death experience with brain surgery. However, when I came out of it, um, I was I was on fire with this kind of passion. First of all, I was just in this a world without boundaries is the best way I can describe it. There was just connections I could feel and hear and sense. It was a symphony of life was singing continually, and everything was open and incredibly radiant and beautiful. And yet in my heart, I was on fire. Like, how do I share this? It wasn't enough to just keep it contained in this human personal vehicle. I had this passion to share it. And the problem was that as I began to share it as a 19-year-old, I had no language. I had no way to really express it. So instead of creating this great connection between me and another person, when I try to share this profound connection that is life itself that we all can experience, instead there was separation. People got confused and disconnected. They othered me, if you will. They thought, she's strange. Maybe you need to go see a psychiatrist. Maybe something happened in your surgery that now makes you a bit crazy. So because I had a passion, a real passion to express this, but at the same time, more than that, I wanted I wanted to belong. I wanted to belong to my human family. So I cocooned that. I cocooned that experience deep in my heart. And I I just knew it wasn't safe to really share that. So for the next actually 5 years, I didn't share it. And the first mentor that I had was actually at a painting experience, and it was artist Francoise Gillot. And she had been with Picasso and had several children by him, including Paloma Picasso. And she was an incredible artist. And so somehow I felt the safety in her presence as I was taking a 7-day painting class, which these paintings actually are uh, from that initial experience, because we painted on cloth, but these are silk, and these were done. These were part of a travel. These are part of a traveling, global traveling collection I have of paintings that go around the world. But anyway, in the safety of Francoise, who was just very wise, I finally, while walking through the forest on the way to the art class, I finally felt the confidence somehow and trust in her to share my experience. And she looked at me because she had been a meditator for years. She was very intelligent, but also wise, and she had she had been through her own spiritual initiation. And she just looked at me and she goes, "I get it. Now go paint. I get it. Just go paint." And something happened in the creative process of letting go and painting and creating, that these symbols, this energy came through almost from a larger source, and symbols and images and stories and mythic realms just came through in my paintings. And suddenly I knew I had tapped into something, a language that I could express my experience through. And so then I became like a wild woman. Within 3 months after that, I had painted over 50 5 by 7 foot paintings, and I had hired people to help me. And I put together a large event at the University of California in San Diego. I I just had a vision of a celebration called Transformations, and I put together this whole. It was 1,000 person. It turned into 1,000 people black tie event. I had hired a choreographer and 12 dancers. We did a dance. It was a multimedia performance, and I successfully communicated to my community what I had gone through a creative process of, of the visual arts, the expressive arts. So I had healed that divide within myself, that I could belong to the community and also be able to express this great joy, this great aliveness, and this great feeling of I am the world. I am a we, us, this aliveness, if you will, in a poetic way of saying it. So then other people started coming to me and they said, wow, I would like to also be able to express myself. Can you help me? So I went on to get a master's and a PhD in psychology and put together, I kind of also had another mentor. It was Dr. Jonas Salk, who had created the Salk polio vaccine. And in a few years before I was born, had formed the Salk Institute, and I had met him at a party, and we had spoken about creativity, that he felt that creativity was it was what was going to solve the dilemma of the human race, and allow us to survive as a species. So he had created the Salk Institute and felt that now it was time to create a global institute of many different kinds of thinkers, creative thinkers who could come together and collaborate to solve the world's problems. So anyway, then he became a close mentor, and I was confused. I think one of the things that I would want to share in my story just is that in being in aligning with with this true connection we have with our essence, and who we are. It's for me, it's been a continual process of refining my own daily practice of staying aligned and connected, as well as continuing to let go. So I've had to let go and let go and let go in order to be fully expressing my purpose and my passion. And so I had graduated from the university, and I was very lost and very confused. And I'm like, what am I did this big event. Now, what am I supposed to do with the rest of my life? Where am I supposed to go? So he was a mentor that just could look at me, and he had the gravitas of the kind of father I think that I needed in my life at that time, who could look at me and say, I see you, I see who you are. And, I think you have something to share. So, I think it's around creativity. And so I was talking to him on the phone, one time early in knowing him. We had almost daily dialogues for 5 years. And I was talking to him and I said, God, Jonas, what am I supposed to do with my life? And I paused. I stopped. I had asked the question and I went into silence. And then I heard a whisper. I heard cocoon to butterfly. It came from someplace in the mystery of life. And that I listened, I was present, open, and listened. And that message came through. And that was in 1986. And then I went on to follow that. People started coming to me who wanted to work with me. And, I developed this cocoon to butterfly process that I've worked with thousands of people in and taught thousands of groups, and used the metaphor of going from this deep place of sometimes being lost and confused, but contained and safe at the same time in the conditions that supported life at one time, but now no longer support it. And so I use the metaphor, I wrote books and have had programs to help people find that larger, lighter life of passion and purpose. So those are a few of my mentors. And I continue, I guess I would just say at this point in my journey, decades later, I continue to be present, open, and listen to life by daily practice. And for me, a lot now, my mentors, they show up They show up every day in different ways. But my mentors are mainly inner mentors. And I use the creative process to listen and see who those mentors are. And they come. Like this morning, I was doing my practice, and this morning, Frida Kahlo came in, and then she starts to. So I pull an image. I find an image. Either I generate the image on AI through Midjourney or Dolly or one of the programs, and then I bring it into my computer to my where I'm writing, and I let that voice, like from it was Frida Kahlo, and she was talking to me this morning, and telling me this morning about how I could encourage in our conversation, I could encourage others to do their daily practice and trust their inner genius and be with the confusion and the pain. I mean, I think part of why Frida Kahlo is this incredible icon today is that she had the courage to express something that was not allowed, that didn't really belong in the cultural milieu, the cultural soup of that time. It wasn't allowed for a woman to express her deep pain and be the incredible, powerful artist. But somehow she had the courage to do that. And I think that's something that all of us, we have this incredible, each of us are like a note, like we have an instrument and we are singing a note in the symphony of life. And I think purpose is aligning with a larger conductor, if you will, to be able to listen to the rhythms, the cycles of life, to be able to tune in by stopping and being present and open and really, really exquisitely listen and be with. When I say listen, it's not just listen to something external, or it's certainly not listen to the noise in the mind, because that will distract us from our true purpose. Our true purpose is something much, much larger than our mind, our internal noise. It's I would liken it to a symphony, and each of us being an instrument and playing our song. So yeah, I just want to just say, yeah, to be in the joy of life, but also there's pain and there's incredible creative tension if you're really going to be fully alive. And it takes courage to face that directly. And also it helps to have a practice that you can do every day to align your essential energy to that purpose, to that connection. And so that's what I've devoted my life to. And that's why I'm here today. And yeah. And also have books, because I found just having a one-on-one practice or doing groups, just I had to share more. So the books and the courses and all of that help to share some of this very simple metaphor that takes the natural cycle of the butterfly from the egg, the caterpillar, the cocoon, and the butterfly, and bring a very simple practice that helps people remember and connect and align. And yeah, it's just with great joy that I can be here and share this message.
Thank you, Lisa. What a treasure to have the chance to listen and also amplify
Oh,
your message and your story. I want to highlight
oh,
things that I that really stood out for me when you were about to have this surgery that had only 50% chance of survival, and then probability of losing abilities. You said to yourself, Lisa, this is what you came for, to experience this. It's okay if you die.
yes,
That is
yes,
so powerful, because I bet there's many people here who have experienced really tough things in their lives, and just having that moment of coming to terms of acceptance, this deep acceptance of what is, and
yeah,
of wow, being free of fear, fearless, is
Yes.
so incredible. So that's one thing I
Mm.
wanted to highlight. I also wanted to highlight the mentors in your life. You had a mentor who catalyzed your painting, and then you had another mentor who catalyzed the next steps. And just really
Yes.
acknowledge the importance of mentors in our lives. And actually,
Yes.
that's why we do this whole summit in the first place, because
Mhm.
um that I hope to be role modeling, to other people, seeking guidance, seeking wisdom from people like
Yes.
you,
Yes.
and nourishing my own purpose journey with all of these beautiful stories and perspectives on
Mm.
there.
Mm.
And I hope people like really go out and find those mentors like you did, Lisa, that really
Yes.
catapulted your journey and helped you heal. And I love that you heal this divide, of wanting to belong, but also wanting to express your experience, wanting to be yourself. That is so
Yes.
fundamental and archetypal in our growth, to have both the belong,
Yes.
part of the world, be part of a group, a tribe, and be ourselves, not have to sacrifice
Yes.
ourselves, for the sake of fitting in, but rather finding a way to belong in a way that honors who we are. And then the other thing I want to highlight, and maybe we can follow this thread, of
Yes.
your beautiful metaphor, and then the practices that come
Mm-hmm.
with it, because it's, as you say, it's so important to have this alignment, constant alignment through practice.
Yes.
um,
Yes.
so maybe we could take it from there and say a little bit more about that.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I thank you for bringing those essential threads, and I love the metaphor also of threads and weaving, and um, and I think also just to say that uh, I think for myself as well, that life continues every moment to be a teacher, and uh, and trusting. I think the other piece is learning more and more to trust life, and I don't think one ever gets there. I think we're constantly in this process of if you want to say, it's a paradox between being and becoming. And what I love, and I work with everything that I've created. My process has been very much about following my own journey, and then teaching what I've learned moment to moment. So the egg is such a wonderful metaphor. If you think about the it's like a quadrant. So you think about the egg as being the first quadrant, and in that egg, there's the practice is to stop and question. So one of the things continually I'll go through the whole practice just so it makes sense. So the egg is the first quadrant, and the little butterfly, uh, the former self has died and laid a butterfly egg, and so there's this precious little butterfly egg laying there, and we too have to take moments to in that let go when we're lost and confused, and just stop. So the challenge is that we all have inherited the noise in our brain, in our head that's talking. And then there's so much noise. There's so much noise in the world, and we're so the ability to stop and just rest in the egg, and then question what wants to happen, or just to be open to what's next, whatever that question is that arises. That's the first quadrant. And then the egg opens up, and it becomes this caterpillar, which is this eating creature that just, we just as caterpillars, we're just eating and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But our food, and the metaphor of the deeper journey, is our food. The process is about opening and listening. So you might be in a place where you say stop. I've been I'm so overwhelmed with what am I supposed to do with my life now? So you stop and you ask the question. You stop and you're just present and open and listening. And you ask the question, what's next, let's say. And then in my Cocoon to Butterfly books, I share a very simple soul scribble. It's the Cocoon to Butterfly soul scribble, where the practice is in this place is to be like a child. And you have, if we had more time with the audience that's here, I would love to do the practice because I can talk about it, but it's profound to do it. You go to that place, not of the artist within you, but of the child. And you remember being 2 years old and you just scribble on one side of the page. You just scribble like how it feels to be, I don't know, I'm lost. You get that energy down on the page and it's an energy expression. And then on the other side of the page, you express what it would be like to break through and become the butterfly. And so another scribble comes out. And then those scribbles are named. You name the cocoon, you name the butterfly, and then you tell a story about it. And there's something in this process that helps us, it helps us align with some truth in our journey. And then the process unfolds by designing your signature practice that you do on a daily basis. So that goes into the third. You've gone from the egg to the caterpillar, and now you're in this in between stage of between the caterpillar and the butterfly, and you're in a cocoon. You're in a container. And often, my first book, Cocoon to Butterfly, Creative Midlife Change for the Busy Person, which is now a bestseller in India, which is cool. Anyway, what's so powerful, I focused on midlife and working with people in midlife because often in midlife, we naturally go into a cocoon. We've completed one cycle of our life. And it's time for us to do something different, but often it's a major different thing. So we often get stuck the in the cocoon, and it's difficult to break free. So the cocoon to butterfly process helps, especially those in midlife, go into the next part of their becoming. So that and that cocoon, that third quarter of the cycle represents letting go and surrendering. So in order to get out of when it becomes a prison, when that cocoon becomes so tight that we're stuck, sometimes in a career, it can be golden handcuffs when you're in a position where the money is so great and you have fear of like, how would I survive without this? It shows up in different ways for different people, or they're stuck in a marriage that's not fully alive, but, I don't want to go out and be single, whatever the story may be. But that cocoon often represents that stuck place. But the verb, the action orientation is to really let go and surrender to something, the trusting life and letting go. And then what happens after that happens with effortless ease. It's the life force itself that guides us. So once you break free of the third quadrant, the caterpillar, then you move naturally. The butterfly emerges, the wings come out. It takes a little while for the wings to dry, but then it flies, and it's just in this effortless, joyful place going from flower to flower as it's doing these other things, pollinating and other larger things. Like, I believe in the larger journey of our human life. We have no idea what we're pollinating. We have no idea about the mystery of how this conspiracy of beauty and the different threads that are weaving through our essence, and what's actually happening. But that's the essential cycle. And the practice is to continue to listen to those aspects of stopping, just the inner work of stopping that automatic movement of the unconscious within us, and asking the questions that help us really align with our purpose, and then just listening to that. My work is very much around creativity and intuition. So Jonas Salk said to me early on, let intuition be your guide with reason by its side. So he discovered the polio vaccine by knowing polio so well and knowing the human body so well that he could picture it and become it. And because he could see it and feel it, he knew what to do to combat the polio. Just like Einstein, like all the great breakthroughs have all happened by aligning with I think with a kind of genius that exists naturally when we expand our intelligence to listen to our creativity, to listen to and align with our purpose, to just trust that we can connect to something that's way beyond what we know we know.
Yeah, thank you. And there's so many kinds of geniuses. You know,
Yes.
I often hear these examples of the scientists, but and that maybe some of us feel like I'm not Einstein or I'm not, but like you have a beautiful genius that I can see behind you that you're expressing with such vibrancy. So yeah, whoever's viewing and listening, to embrace all the kinds of geniuses that are there.
Yes.
The scientific paradigm, that's always saying, oh,
Yes.
that's the only kind of, I'm just saying. But I wanted to
Yes.
thank you for all of these beautiful images, the egg, the caterpillar, the cocoon, the butterfly, all these stages that just evoke the language of the soul, because I think and both know the soul communicates in images, and so I find that
Yes.
language so
Yes.
soulful and so evocative. Or wherever you
Mm.
are, if you're at that stage of needing to stop and question what wants to happen,
Yes.
or in the soul scribble, in the like feverish eating or consuming, and you need to just let it out on the page in the soul scribble, or
Yeah.
the tight place, the constricted place where you
Yes.
just feel imprisoned, and you need to
Yes.
break free, and it's just too small for you. It's too
Yes.
small, and ah,
Yes.
then the butterfly where it's natural. Also, I love that you said that it's
Yeah.
very natural once we
Yes.
attune to what's happening and just support life itself,
Beautiful.
do its thing. um, then naturally there's going to be a moment where we open our wings and have gone to the other
Yes.
side of this, and now um, are
Well, and
just expressing our nature. Yes, please go ahead.
yeah. Well, and what's so great is our work, like you don't have to work to evoke your genius.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to work. You need to do the work to get out of the way.
Right.
Like the beautiful cactuses that are around your background. We are that nature. The inner nature and the outer nature are aligned. We just what we have to do. It's like it just reminds me of the metaphor that probably all of you are familiar with, where the plane, when it's going to a destination, it has a direction, but it has to continually, because there are all these forces of the weather and the wind and all kinds of things, it has to continually work to align ourselves. So the practice, if you will just do the practice, whatever your signature practice is, and just keep aligning, that's the work. The work is to be present and stop and open and listen and follow your guidance. But then the larger force takes care of the rest of that. I mean, there's a lot of work in life, but it really the caterpillar, it has to do an awful lot of work to build that bigger body. And within the caterpillar, when it starts to die, the imaginal cells inside of the caterpillar, which are the blueprint for its future self, they start to emerge. And when that caterpillar goes into the cocoon, or the chrysalis, as it's scientifically called, when it goes into that place, the what's so curious is the caterpillar's body becomes a liquid soup that feeds these imaginal cells. And then the imaginal cells, these blueprints of its future self, start to grow and they become the butterfly. And then once that process happens, it's almost as if it's an effortless ease. It just emerges and moves. And so too, it seems that we are born with this blueprint, this invisible blueprint within our souls. Just like we have a DNA within our physical, biological bodies, we have a blueprint also within our, if you want to call it a light body or our radiance or the essential energy that's us. And if we continue to do the practice, the daily practice, if we continue to align with that and listen to the guiding images, the songs, whatever way that comes to you, you don't have to work for the rest. Just get out of the way, just keep letting go and life moves you. Yeah. So that's really what I want to encourage us to remember, is that there's a larger force that's moving all of us if we can just be really aligned, be present, open, listening, ask the bigger questions that come naturally from. I think those questions actually come from our blueprint. They come from those imaginal cells that are inside the cocoon that are being fed by our former selves. So trust that, and don't, if you can possibly not be a passive recipient of life, but excuse me, but instead be an active participant. We watch television to relax, right? But be in the movie, be an active movie in the movie of your soul, of your essential self. Watch the movie, be curious, be the screenwriter, be the actor, have fun, play, but be active in that. Do your practice. And I'm just hoping too, in the remaining time, if I can just encourage listeners, tune in this moment. What small action, when you finish listening to this, what tiny action could you do? Would you be willing, after you listen to this, to pause for a couple of minutes and just stop and listen? Maybe take out a pencil or a paper or whatever and write down, what's one small thing I could do in the next 24 hours to be more in alignment, to listen and be present and open to what wants to happen in my ability to be connected to life.
Thank you. Thank you for that invitation. Yeah. What comes to mind is, when we go through coach training, they teach us how to be very attuned to the other person and be very present, so that whatever needs to come through and whatever needs to happen can happen. And we don't have to do anything, we don't have to force anything. We just have to hold space and be. And that in itself is one of our main contributions. And when you say that, it's like we can also do that for ourselves. Just really be present, hold space for ourselves, and align with some of that inner blueprint that's so mysterious. But I also believe that there is an inner blueprint that we can attune to, as well as the larger forces that are always conspiring for you to unfold in the way you're meant to. And sometimes the way that these larger forces conspire for you to become who you're meant to be, it's not always comfortable, right? Like, think about your own story. Seriously, a near-death experience and like the chances of losing your limbs or whatever. It's like, wow, it's hard, but at the same time, you were so attuned to what life wanted from you, and so open, so available for what life wanted from you. You gave yourself to it. And so just beautiful surrender of what how we can be with these many circumstances in our life are trying to
Yes.
get us to move into that next stage, right?
Yes. 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 And you know, it's so interesting because in my first book, I talk about the creative process and creative tension. So it's natural if you're a high creative person, or it's natural if you really surrender to this larger life that we're moving into, that's part of our purpose. It's natural that there's going to be a creative tension between the cocoon and butterfly, or between these different stages. And yet the mind is immediately, when you're in that tension, the thought stream, the automatic mind will say something's wrong, something's wrong. And if you'll just stop and be so present and check in, what wants to happen here, what's next, whatever, then you can get out of that, the mindset of something's wrong and the fear-based thinking, and open up to a larger intelligence that's guiding us, and I think that's, for me, at this point in my journey, with, I don't know, over 40 years of doing this process, um, it still comes up. It still comes up, and I'm in amazement that, as much as I live, I think more and more, it's more like 99% of the time. And then there's that 1%, where before it was much more, earlier in my life, it was much more like I might have had, 60% challenge and fear and questioning, to, I don't know, what I'm trying to say is that it shifts. But I just, no matter where we are in the path, I think there's still that creative tension that happens, that's part of the creative process itself. And as artists of our lives, using the canvas of our lives as, or I use the metaphor of the movie, we're designing and we're in the movie and we're creating it, whatever metaphor of this creative expression that is our lives. Um, we are creators of that, and it's just powerful to recognize that some of these forces that come, they're not necessarily bad, but they just are. They just arise, and if we can meet them and greet them as allies rather than foes, and with love, or with presence, and the unknown, rather than fear and something's wrong and I'm bad, and all of the conditioning that's happened from our past.
Yeah.
And I would just say one more thing that seems so big for me is that I have a nonprofit foundation that's really about uniting our divided world through creative expression. And when I had all the years with Jonas Salk, he was trying to create this creativity institute that I mentioned earlier. And I carry within my blueprint and within my commitment to life on this planet, as long as I'm breathing and alive, this passion that we're in this creative, as what I would call evolutionary artists, conscious creators that are dedicated to weaving and connecting, and being a planetary, interconnected aliveness, a unified civilization that's moving forward in a very positive and bright future. Like my heart, it's like about connection, and movement. And so I share that with you because I think part of the dance, as we move up the spiral of change and become more and more elevated, we often will connect with what I call twin wings, other people that have us, like I think you and I are that, well, we haven't really explored it, but we share something, some kind of connection that's beyond what we know, but somehow we're separate, but then we unite, and then in that process we can fly quite we can fly higher, because we've connected as separate wings, through this mysterious third aliveness that's a relational kind of aliveness. And we connect and we can rise to a higher level. We can go to 10,000 feet above the Earth's surface to see and participate in life on a higher level. And I just invite anyone who feels called that they may be, a twin wing, or may have another wing, if you will, partnership, a kind of co-mentoring that will support, what's next. I'm going to take this off. this this is my mother's. My mom was so beautiful, and she said yes to my creativity, and I wanted to put a piece of her purple silk scarf here, but now it seems to be falling off, so I'll go with that falling off and just be in the nakedness of this chair, just to say that, we have a twin wing somewhere. Actually, continually we do, in our relationship with life. And if you feel called to that connection, please reach out to me and let's do this together, because we're meant to fly, in community, and we're meant, I believe, to take those broken threads together as a species and find, how we can tie them and make this world a more beautiful tapestry.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Lisa. I want to highlight, um, first of all, that connection to purpose has to do with attuning to our blueprint, but it also has to do with attuning to something larger, this larger life,
Yes,
um,
yes,
that is also supporting us in living into a highest expression of ourselves. And
yes, yes,
and we need to break through these cocoons of confinement that are also can be very comfortable, right? They can be very, but comfortable. Yeah, just
yeah,
easy. There's an easyness about them, but something is calling us to a larger life, and to play a role in a big orchestra that we're still kind of understanding. And this
yeah,
the quantum paradigm is
yes,
so helpful in
yes,
starting to wrap our head around what it is, this larger picture where we're all connected and
yes,
everything seems to be much more orchestrated than we thought, less random than we were taught, at least. So
yes.
I know that our time is almost up, but I think it's beautiful to end on this idea of both the larger life that's waiting for us, and also this signature practice.
Mm,
Maybe if you could tie those two together, the signature practice that we can do every day so that we can enable this larger life waiting for us.
yes, yes, yes. I think, thank you. I think that how we can again make the commitment. I think make I just want to encourage everyone, if you're not already doing a 1 hour, I shouldn't quantify it by time, but to give yourself the gift of some amount of time every day. I mean, think about the things we have to do right on a daily basis around work, maybe work in the world, caring for our children, keeping our house clean, all the things we have to do to maintain our ordinary day-to-day life. One also needs to tie with that, if you can, a daily practice. So if you're already doing something, maybe you're meditating, that's beautiful. And maybe you can tie with your meditation a creative practice as well. Like at the end of it, invite in an image, or a song, or maybe you meditate and you play the guitar. Maybe you want to bring those two together. Or if you don't have a practice at all, you may want to consider journaling, or just consider what is it that comes up in your imagination, and that would support even 5 minutes. You can start with just a few minutes every day. But I recommend, if you don't already have a living practice that's happening, like some people, it's yoga or Tai Chi, or some it's a musical instrument. So, it has hundreds of ways that practice can show up. But do something that brings you joy and brings you into your aliveness. It could be if you love poetry. It could be building a little altar by the side of your bed and taking 5 minutes before you go to bed to just take a breath, open your book, read a poem out loud, read a poem to someone you love. I mean, there's hundreds of different ways to do it. And in my Cocoon to Butterfly books, I have I think 27 different practices that you can do. So there's lots of ways that you can get in touch with what it is for yourself that brings you alive. And give yourself, you deserve it. Give yourself that time, that whether it's 5 minutes or 2 hours, love yourself and nourish yourself, just like that caterpillar is eating, 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 and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You too need to find that nourishment so that you can grow and go through this natural practice. So do that regular activity. And a lot of us are doing exercise, physical exercise for the body. So maybe combine that with either stopping before or after and creating a signature practice with yourself that aligns you with, what is bringing you to this next level? What is helping you go from cocoon to butterfly? What is it? And again, it's like we're in this soup of Western, still industrial, like with this flavors of industrial thinking. The whole idea that we have to be working so hard to build more and more. It's that cocoon consciousness, and I just invite you to just be present and check in, question, is that really alive for me? What is really alive for me? And feel it. I think that's the other piece, the feeling function, when we can stop and feel life and be more connected to our intuition and images that guide. So there's so many ways to go, but please, just after you get off of this, take even 2 minutes or 5 minutes and just stop in silence and be present with how you can, like, as if this soul of yours is a child and it's come from you and you must care for it. What can you do every day to nourish that, to feed that child? Because the world and our future absolutely 100% depends on you doing your practice. So please find your twin wing. Please feed your soul, and just know that if you're in alignment and you do your practice and you keep letting go, that you will be completely alive in your purpose. So
That's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I feel so enriched by this conversation and really committed to the signature practice. There's synchronicity. Of course, this conversation needed to happen. And of course, whoever's viewing and listening needed to view and listen this. So let's take the cues from the universe and and
yeah,
and the invitation that you are giving us, Lisa. Thank you so much.
thank
What a
you.
conversation. And I look
Oh,
forward to more with you and exploring these twin wings with you and with others in our
yes. Yeah, and thank you also for your incredible commitment to not only yourself and your practice, which obviously is shining brightly in you, and your commitment to the whole world and putting together this magnificent summit and making it available to so many so that we can, be like those caterpillars, feeding and eating from life and drinking the love that's everywhere. So thank you so much for all of the work of your life to make this possible. I'm thrilled to have shared with you. So thank you.
I feel blessed, and I bless you in return, and I bless everyone who had the chance to view and listen. Mwah. Thank you.
And reach out, please reach out if inspired. I'm here and I can't wait to connect.